Hey, this is Dave from Stencil. I'm here in the virtual environment of the King Spray Graffiti app on Oculus Quest 2 to show you a little bit about how you might sometimes want to modify a stencil that you already have. And why might you want to do that? Well, the stencils that we send you are, by default, they're non-overlapping stencils. So each color is separated out, so you have you might have a white, red, and green stencil, and every color is either going to be white, green, or red. You're never going to paint red over green or green over red or white over red or white over green. We know what happens when you do that with real paints. Like when you paint red over green, you get kind of a brown, kind of a muddy red, muddy green, something in between. And when you paint white over red, for example, you don't just get white, you get pink, and then you spray and spray and spray and spray and reapply, and you get white finally. So, so by default, we send you stencils that have one color per layer, and all the layers added up cover all the surfaces. But sometimes you might not want that, and we're going to look at an example of why when that happens. You see how when you go to register this black layer over this green, that it's a little tricky to get the black to cover all the white spots? And if I'm not exactly perfect with it, like that, and I go to paint this black, just hit it all the way over. Notice that I'm going to see some places where the white comes through, and these are places where the bridges come to meet the black, the things that mask out the black, where the black will come in that green layer. And there are also just places where the registration might not be super accurate, so where I didn't line up the stencil perfectly on the surface. And both of those things are gonna bite you a little bit with a stencil like this. And the big question you're probably asking yourself is, why is it that I'm masking away the black when I'm going to paint black over it later? Like, why do you need to mask the surface from getting hit with the green when you're just going to paint black over it later? That's a good question. So before you choose your colors, you actually don't know that you're going to paint black over green. You could use stencils to paint like pink over black if you wanted to do like a reverse image type thing. So that's why we, when we send you the stencils, we always send you the layers. It's totally separate. So every layer is doesn't touch any other layer when you spray through. You just get the layers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you get the colors. And each surface is painted only once. Each surface is only touched once, but with the colors in the default stencils that you get from Stencil. So I'm going to show you what you can do if you want to modify a Stencil to make it so that you can paint this more easily. So you remember our green stencil before? Our green stencil before had had these cutouts in the center for the places, or not cutouts, but additional masking here in the center to mask off this central green stripe and the eyes and the little bits of the toes. But this thing doesn't have any of that masking. It's just a hole. It's just a big hole. And if I paint green through this and then paint black over it, everything is going to be the way I want it to be. So I'm going to try using this stencil over here. Notice that this result on the right is a little bit better, partly because it doesn't have so much of the bridges here. So before there's a bridge connecting this to this piece, a bridge here, a bridge, bridges connecting all these other eyepieces. And you can kind of see them kind of faintly, even though there is underspray here on this rough wall surface. So the bridges kind of took care of themselves for the most part. You can see here, 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 here. But this one doesn't have any of those because none of that was on the stencil. Now, it does have bridges in the black because we use the same black stencil, so there's a little bridge there, a little there, a little there. These are ones that I don't think you really need to do anything with. They're really small, and the underspray always makes those become a little less important. But so what we did was we had this stencil, and we changed it to this stencil, essentially by taking these pieces on the side and just cutting out what was in the middle, cutting out that masking that's in the middle. Like I said, you might not want to do this if your goal is to paint like pink stripes on a black lizard, because painting pink over black, you'll have to paint several layers to make that bright pink again. But if your goal is to always paint dark stripes on a bright colored lizard, then just go ahead and change that out. It's your stencil, you paid for it, and you can do with it what you want. This is Dave signing off from Bay Stencil.